Hello and welcome to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their families. I'm your host, Mindy Felinton. Did you ever know of someone who was living in their home but really struggled to maybe get into the bathtub or get up the stairs? Well, that can be a problem for a lot of families. My guest today is Steve Hage, and he's going to share with us some information about how to deal with that. Steve, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Mindy.
And you're president of
Strategies for Independent Living, yeah.
I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
But I think it's great to have those strategies, which will be something obviously that we want to talk about.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit about your company, what the focus of your company is, and how you can help people who are looking for different strategies to be able to remain in their home.
Right. I've been doing this a long time, and I'm in the business of retrofitting houses. I do residential remodeling, but the business model of my company is a design-build construction company. And so in that regard, I will modify bathrooms, remodel bathrooms, tear them out and put in new ones. I'll build decks and additions. I'll modify kitchens, and I'll put in smaller stuff like grab bars and railings. We also put in equipment like stair lifts, patient transfer lifts, and things that are specific to rehabilitation, health and health care.
How did you get into, I'm sorry for interrupting, but how did you get involved in this particular area of the remodeling business?
Well, my whole career has been in the construction business, and I've been doing that now for over 40 years now, doing construction and home remodeling primarily. And 20-some years ago, I started doing construction there was an idea for aging in place. And it was a new idea. And in fact, we would go to networking and senior services business meetings and such. And it was mostly nurses and agency people. And they were wondering what a contractor was doing there because it was so new. How would a contractor fit?
You were like a fish out of water at that point.
Right, yeah, because it involved discharge planning at a hospital or something, and there would be an occupational therapist and a physical therapist, nurses. But we decided that, we put forth that you have to, if they give advice, the occupational therapist, about widening a door or modifying a bathroom or putting up a ramp, how are you gonna now you send the folks home and they're fixed from the hospital, but now what are they going to do? They're going to find a contractor who built a deck down the street maybe, and maybe he's okay, knows what he's doing, and I don't know. And what are you going to do? And what are the issues? What are the real issues about that? And so in time, at first we gradually got into it, and in time it became my whole business and my whole focus. And it turns out that really it doesn't take long to become an advocate. And when I started Strategies for Independent Living 12 years ago, I had to stop and think about what I was about, why I was doing it. And part of the thing was that I had to not only be a business person, but I had to be an advocate. And so,
when you say advocate?
I mean to say I have to be really paying attention to what the folks that I'm talking to need, not what I need in terms of my bottom line, but I need to know, I need to help folks. Part of what I do, I'm in the business of grab bars and ramps, but my business isn't about grab bars and ramps. It's really about helping folks facilitate their life so they can move on with whatever they want to do. We all have aspirations. We all want to do stuff. We have our identity of who we are, our family, and that sort of thing. And then we have maybe an illness, or we're just getting old, or we have an injury, or that sort of thing. Those are not going to define us. We're still the same person we were when we were 18 years old. We just, we look different. We get along differently. We've got creaks in our knees now, but
no,
yeah,
can't be.
Well, not us, but I mean,
yeah,
everybody else. And so I just try to clear the way, and whatever that means to folks. So I'm really what I do in my business is just help folks to get on with their life and get out of the way.
So what does that look like as far as how do you become involved? Who would your average person be who you're working with, and kind of walk me through the process of working with someone or someone and their family, or maybe the family.
Yeah, sure. Well, folks, often there's a family dynamic, as you say, and when we're talking about senior services and senior issues, there are, as we get older, we become senior, and we become 80 and 90 years old and that sort of thing. But we have our family and our kids, our adult children, and now the baby boomers all have parents they're dealing with, and so those folks are sort of predisposed to try and help their folks, help their parents, or their older loved one to be safe in their home. Maybe I live in California and I've been visiting my aunt or my mom, and she's not doing so well as I thought, or something. Or maybe she fell recently and I'm concerned, or maybe she isn't and she hasn't fallen, but I'm thinking she might, or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I get calls from folks in a wide spectrum, all the way from my daughter told me I needed to put a grab bar in the shower, so I'm calling you. Can you do that for me? And I'll put her, mollify my daughter, or all the way up to a middle-aged couple just trying to plan for the future. They like their house, they like their neighborhood. They know that they've heard things about aging in place. They know the phrase, but they don't know how it would affect, or how that would apply to their house, and what would that mean. And one spouse has an early stage of Parkinson's or something. So they're thinking about the house and wondering about how they can make it work and still have a viable life, as I say, continue with their life. And so, and I'll come in and we'll sit down and talk about things. And I'm a deliberative person, so I don't try to throw everything at them. But often it'll be a report, maybe just a quick assessment of the house, and then some costs of those, and to the extent that there are different generations involved with the discussion, maybe I'll get a call from one of the siblings and say, my folks are here, and I'll get to the house, and there'll be, there'll be the person who called me, the daughter from California, say, and there are a group of people in the room, and there's Mom in the corner, like, you're not going to change my house, And so I got, and that's important because, we all, as an adult child of very loving parents, and we have a good close family, and we are all trying to do the best we can for our folks. We love them very much. It's still not about us, it's about our parents and what they want to do, and so we try to respect that. It's hard for adult children to say, well, I know what you need, Mom, and on the other hand, conversely, the mom and dad, they don't, all of a sudden, they've lived their life to great effect all these years. We don't need any help, thank you very much. All this new scrutiny is uncomfortable. And it makes people, they understand, all of us are, I think as we get older, we're pragmatic by and large. We understand that, I don't get around like I used to. But still you chafe at that new scrutiny. Now people are looking at you like, are you going to fall? Can you make it through the day without hurting yourself? It says, look, I've had a whole career. I've been a healthy person all these years, but now I'm taking medication because I had high blood pressure and it's making me woozy, and that's all there is, It's hard. It's very incremental, life is, and so you don't notice a lot of these things. And then we just talk about those and try to narrow it down, because that's a huge, what I just said was, huge and speculative, and you can't really, so you need to try and locate where we're going to, maybe, just right now, let's just look at the house. You're having trouble getting up and down the stairs, maybe a stair lift. We do a lot of stair lifts. It's a relatively inexpensive and easy thing to install. And
if I may ask, what is the average cost of doing a stair lift?
A stair lift is going to cost, there are two types. There's the straight track that goes up and down a stairway in a straight line, and then there's the custom, which goes around the bend or it goes up a landing and turns and stuff. And the straight track is the most common. And you're going to have prices from about $2,500 to $4,500, depending on what the equipment is.
And if it's not the straight kind?
And if it's not the straight kind, it'll be like $10,000 to $12,000.
Ah, which of course is what I have in my house.
Right.
Not the straight kind.
No, of course not.
God forbid.
I know. So it's a big difference. There are ways sometimes, we can get around to it. I spend a lot of my days in in the gray area of life where, everything isn't ideal, but you start in terms of the assessment, in terms of advice, you start with the ideal and you can work back from there. But those are, for stair lifts, they're not they're not something that's readily understood, but it is.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, folks don't. It's something foreign to most folks, and you don't know, like, what is this thing? I've seen it, or people are telling me I should get a stair lift, but I don't know. It looks like a contraption. I don't want that in my house, kind of thing. So I have a lot of explaining to do when I'm trying to tell people, yeah. And but I think it's important, again, as an advocate. And you asked when I mean an advocate, I mean I need to first help folks understand what we're talking about. What is it? Get them invested, the whole family, or individually and collectively. What are we talking about, and why are we talking about it? And let's not talk in general terms. Let's get it nailed down about what's really happening and what do we really need. Because a lot of it is speculative. Oh, what if I need a wheelchair? Well, you're not using a wheelchair now. Maybe you don't need a wheelchair. Maybe you never will. God forbid, I should drop dead on my front porch like my great-grandma did. That might be the best way to go. She never needed a wheelchair. So, I don't know. And so you try to take the mystery out of things like that, bring questions to ground. Because a lot of times your families will be having a circular conversation about things. Well, you should do this. Well, what should I do?
Yes, I'm familiar with those.
And so instead of just like, how the internet has lots of information but no advice, I like to be able to help folks make a decision instead of just giving them lots of information.
So it sounds like you two have a little bit of that psychiatrist mediation role in what you're dealing with also.
Yeah, I bring a whole satchel of different hats. But in fact, I found this to be my life's work because in a way I have a predilection for ministry, and so it helps. It sort of answers that, and so I'm able to help folks, individually and collectively, but also bring my professional understanding of how a house is put together and in practical terms. So I can do both, and that's uniquely suited for this kind of work.
So it sounds like it's really your ideal job.
Yeah. I'm blessed, as they say, to have something have a job and a career that is gratifying and fulfilling for me. Yeah, and hopefully for the folks I work with.
Yes. Well, I'm sure that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally can relate because I married my background, which was social work, sociology. And with what I do with the elder law. What I'd like to do when we come back is talk about more of the types of things that you've done in people's homes. Give us some examples of somebody you've worked with, some kind of real-life stories when we come back from our break.
Great.
How's that sound?
Sounds perfect.
All right. Well, we're going to take a short break right now, and we'll be right back.
A single ember from a wildfire can travel over a mile. That ember can ignite and destroy your home or community. You can't control where that ember will land. Only what happens before it does. Visit fireadapted.org to learn how you can help protect your community from wildfires.
Hello and welcome back to Senior Solutions, where we bring you topics affecting seniors and their families. And I'm your host, Mindy Felinton. We were talking earlier with Steve Hage, who's here talking about strategies for independent living. And we're going to continue on, Steve, and thank you again for being here.
My pleasure.
And talk more about what the different considerations are that people need to look at when remaining at home and what different types of things that you can do to accommodate those needs.
Yeah.
So what are the considerations that you suggest people take into account when deciding to stay or to go?
Right. Well, whether to stay in the house or not can be a big question. My own folks are wrestling with that one right now, and the house. We spend a lot of time in the house, and it's a very slow, incremental. Even though life seems to flit by pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's frightening.
It's made up of incremental steps each day. You get a little more in your groove in that house, and so after so many years, 40 years, say, you're in that house now, and why should you move in the first place? It's
Oh, and I have all my stuff, and how am I going to...
all that stuff.
Where am I going to put it?
Just the whole thought of that stuff just destroys you. You can't, now you're frozen because you can't even think about that. Well, there are actually services. You might have had some folks on this show. There are services that help you go through that. And those are good services, and because a lot of times it's too much for us or our family to go through that stuff. Do you throw this away or not? You know, it's too much trouble. But and so it is hard to deal with. But in terms of, from my purview, it's, you know, you want to think about whether the house is a good candidate for changing. Let's say if you want to, if let's say you're in your 70s and you want to stay in your house indefinitely, and you don't want to move. Well, then you want to think about, well, are there a lot of stairs? We all know statistically stairs are not a good thing as we get older. It's just harder to do.
Although I know someone who's 99 and lives in their brownstone in D.C.
There you go.
Yeah,
So,
up and down.
well, and that's and that actually illustrates a point I was going to make. And all of this question is so speculative that you have no idea, you know, whether you should do this or that. You can only kind of go on what you know.
Right. It's like in my office, I have a crystal ball, and literally on the conference table, because it's out of order, and I explain to clients, it's out of order. So I do the best I can.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Well, you know, and that's about the best you can do. You know? Let's all just do the best we can. And so trying to decide whether you want to kind of look around, it takes an honest look in the mirror, of course. You know, am I up to this? What's my support system? Are there people around? Is my neighborhood the same as it was that I loved so much, or have people moved away?
Good
Do you
point.
have a social network still? Those kind of things, you know. Are you going to be isolated in that house that you love so well? And then, you know, think about, well, it's, you know, you're going to stay there or leave. But again, from my purview, though, what folks will ask me to come in and look at the house with the built environment in mind. The social network notwithstanding, and you know, just what about this house? Can it be changed? What would it take? And so I'll look around. We'll talk about their plans, their long-term plans, and we'll I'll evaluate. You know, there are steps up to the front porch, and there are a full set of steps upstairs, and all the bedrooms are upstairs, and there's no bathroom on the first floor. You know, you know, or the opposite. There's a full bath, and you know, there's a study with a full bath on the first floor, and that could be modified or changed to a master bedroom, bathroom suite. And so then I'll evaluate what's existing, and kind of give them a sense for you know, what might be changed. If it's a stairway that needs a custom lift, well, that's costly. Or maybe there's an elevator, which can be $20,000 to $50,000 for an elevator. You know, is that worth it? Right? And so we try to make a list. Maybe short term, there's a few railings on the front steps, you know, things like that. Modifying the bathroom.
Talk about that a little bit more. Would you kind of share with me what that modifying of the bathroom entails?
Right, and because usually getting in and out of the house and using the bathroom is mostly what we're, you know, the parts that we need in a house.
The key elements.
Yeah, the key elements. And but modifying a bathroom, you usually have, you know, there's 3 fixtures: a toilet, a sink, and a bathtub or shower. And what you want as you get older, typically, is to have an ease mostly around the shower and getting around the space. So if you were to modify a bathroom for accessibility, you would essentially be looking at a wheelchair use, maybe, because
So
that
that
would be
may
the
mean
extreme. What that means is, in a word, floor space.
And widening a door.
Widening a door so you can get
Perhaps.
through. Most bathrooms have a door that's more narrow than the other doors. Who knows why? Some builder decided that was the idea.
Cheaper.
And yeah, I guess.
That's what I'm thinking.
But I spend my days just widening doorways, just because somebody decided a bathroom door should be 2 feet wide. That's not wide enough, you know, to get through with a walker or you can get through sometimes, but it's not real easy. Walker or a wheelchair. And then once inside, you know, maybe it's if it's a small bathroom, you need space inside the bathroom. Usually a vanity is there, a cabinet, and that's sitting on the floor, and that will get in your way. Whether you want to sit at the sink or not, you're still going to be having to maneuver around that big box.
So what do you do in that case?
Usually, the most accessible application is a wall-hanging sink, because then you just have a basin attached to the wall and nothing underneath.
Ah.
The next step would be a pedestal, because it's not a lot of space, but there's something on the floor, but it's more trim. And frankly, there are more style choices with a pedestal than there are with a wall sink. Wall sinks are limited in terms of style. And so the pedestal has more style, more range of styles.
Although I think those wall ones are becoming more and more popular
There
these
are
days.
more now than there used to be.
I saw some recently looking for some other items for my bathroom, and I was like, wow, fancy, expensive.
Well, yeah. Well, now, and right, and there are all kinds of, and you can, and now they have those basins with the faucet coming out of the wall kind of thing, and there's those really fancy ones, very, very nice. And all can be made too. A lot of what we do, a lot of the fixtures that we use are common fixtures. We just apply them in a certain way, often, except for, the vanity cabinet, as I say. The key to a small bathroom especially, though, is the bathtub or shower. And so if we're trying to have the best ease of use would be to eliminate a bathtub or even the shower with any kind of lip on it, any kind of curb, even doors for that matter, but that's a sort of you can use doors, but the issue is really floor space again. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have a regular 5 feet by 7, 8 foot bathroom, and you have a toilet and a sink and a bathtub in the end. If you have that bathtub, now you really only have a 5 by 5, 5 feet by 5 feet square area, because you have no use of that floor space where the tub is. You take the tub out and you put in a shower there, and to the extent that there's no lip in it, you've actually extended the floor throughout that whole area. Now you have an area that, whether you're taking a shower or not, you can use that floor space to maneuver. And if you happen to need an assistant, then you've got room for 2 people. So you've made a typical, suburban 5 by 7 bathroom into a relatively adequate space to work in. Ideally, you might want to make it bigger. We've actually turned the smaller bedroom into a bathroom before because there's more space, and that can work. Sometimes, if you need, depending, again, it's a matter of deciding whether you're going to stay in that place or not. You can actually build an addition that's a bedroom bathroom suite off the side of the house, and if you make it pretty and you do it correctly, you can make that. It can be a capital improvement to the house, and also functional for accessibility. Again, we're speculating that we need something like that, but statistically, anyway, if I'm going to make it into my 90s and 100s, I'm going to need probably to get rid of that tub.
Yeah.
It's just a way to look at it.
A fact of life.
And a lot of folks, reject that, or they are reluctant to make that kind of change because they're afraid that it's going to look institutional, so-called, or like a hospital, and that is a danger. You do need design, I think, to make it comfortable. You don't just want a big, a gymnasium, locker shower. You want to have something that's nice. And that's a matter of sensibilities, too, and so everybody's going to have their own take on that. But you try to in my business, I try to have whatever we're doing reflect the sensibilities of the folks who live there. And a little nod to the market, too, to make sure that it's attractive to the market. That's often a request in terms of program from the folks that are, that we're doing the work for. We want this to be marketable, this house to be marketable. And that can be part of the thing, too. We can maybe do that, but it costs so much to do that now it's not really worth the trouble. And so we kind of work. Often folks decide, just parenthetically, people decide sometimes, okay, we know what it takes for the house. It's going to be better for us to get an apartment. We decided we're going to move to assisted living, or we're going to do something else in terms of living. But those are some of the things we can do. On a smaller scale, we can just what was some of the other? Well, stair lift. Put a stair lift in.
What about in the kitchen? Are there any things in particular in the kitchen that you're finding are helpful for seniors?
Yeah, lighting, certainly. Lighting.
What about cabinets being more accessible?
Yeah, and some of the kitchen work in any other rooms too, but kitchen primarily because there's a lot of workspace, and the kitchen is a work area, if you will, and has a lot of cabinets and shelving and all that sort of thing. And so some of it's behavioral. That is, you want to make sure that you're putting pots and pans and the everyday dishes and things like that within easy reach, which is essentially from about this high above the ground to shoulder height. So you're not reaching way down,
right,
which can make you dizzy. If you're older, as we get older, we can get dizzy if we turn upside down like that, or reaching too high, which puts us at risk for falling, or it makes us get a stool or ladder out or something, and then we're up, teetering on a ladder, which, it's what we do, but it can be, it could be difficult, dangerous.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you can modify cabinets to have pull-out trays. The middle drawer can be a pull-out tray. And even if they have fixed trays or shelves now, you can actually take those out and install pull-out trays in a fixed area. A lot of these things are easier if you're already planning to upgrade the kitchen, say, or the bathroom for that matter. Mm-hmm. If you're already going to plan on spending some money on it, well, now's the time to do all those things. But let's say that you haven't and you just want to do. So you're looking at, you want to, those reachers that you have.
Yes, it's like a big grip thing.
Well, it's not bad to have one of those. It's simple, it's real cheap, and you can have it for, the odd thing that you can pull down. A lot of times our solutions aren't necessarily spatial, but again, behavioral, because folks will, let's say we have your holiday dishes. You don't need to make those in this area where you can reach them all the time. Mm-hmm. You put them up high in this cabinets, way up high or something, or in another room or something, in a cabinet. And then when the kids from college come to visit for Thanksgiving, you can let them get it.
Very smart.
It's kind of thinking about it instead of, or you can make a kitchen that's big enough to handle that kind of thing. But usually, any kitchen is going to have shelves that are out of reach.
Yeah.
That's all.
I recently moved into a new old home, and when I was putting my dishes away, I said, I'd like them down here instead of up here, because they get heavy. Yeah. So even in terms of that practicality, I think that's a good, it's a good exercise to move, because then you've got, well, not a fun one, but I mean to say that it makes you think about what you're doing and how you want stuff to work. And I think that's, if folks can take away, and I do workshops sometimes, and one thing I try to get folks to look at their house in the way we live in our home. Mm-hmm. And it is so incremental, life is, and we're used to this old house, and we don't notice that there's that threshold there, or that we're getting the same dishes down from this place that really should be rethought, and just sort of deconstruct your life for a day and kind of think about, well, is this really the right thing? Maybe I can do that, And if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Steve, to have you perhaps work with them, how would they get in touch with you? A good way is email or telephone. And what's your email address?
My email is steve.strategies, my name, STEVE, .strategies, @gmail.com. The phone number is 301-585-5738.
Great. Well, I want to thank you again for being here today.
Okay.
And if you have an idea for a TV show, or you would like to get in touch with me, please feel free to email me at seniorsolutionsTV@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.